Hello and welcome to News from the Heart. I'm Heather. George and I have the blessing and honor to talk with Swami Chetanananda today about meditation practice in a specific way. In our lineage, we do pujas, and in the performing of our practice, we have some tools. Those tools are called mantras, yantras, and mudras. And we're going to talk a little bit about those things and why we do them today in our episode. Stay tuned.
You know, part of teaching a puja is, maybe the understanding is a cultivated understanding. You have to work at it, but you can't get there from a fundamentally dualistic position. You have to have shifted yourself enough that you can start to grok it. And the question becomes, how do you, or do you ever, get people to actually change their fundamental orientation? Because here's the thing. It's like there's a whole life experience that rolls out from contact, alignment, and flow that is never available to anybody who's living in their defensive routines, or even living in the density of defensive routineness. And, defensive routines have to do with, like, getting instead of giving. That defensive routines develop around the whole understanding of getting. In the understanding of the power and the significance generally of having an attitude of service, which is giving, your defensive routines come down. Instead of looking outside yourself for some resource, you're accessing a whole different context. And in that context, something grows inside you and something changes in your life. And without it, you're constantly looking for love in all the wrong places. And the first thing you want to do is get people just to start to have a routine of actually practicing, because there's no way without some kind of practice, without some kind of constant, making an effort to revitalize your contact with yourself. There's no way that you can hold the space for very long, because what happens is just the bullshit of everyday living, the stress of it, all of the chemistry, the fight, flight, the tiredness of it, and the kind of resistance to that your own inner mechanism has, develops, that it just reorients you over and over and over again to the world. And the only way you get the world out of yourself is by practice. There's no other way.
That's so... Before I moved in this house, my excuses or reasons for not practicing were getting distracted by the world. I started here having another impediment, and it was being around all these people who are so impeccable and beautiful in their practices. Everybody's room had these amazing altars. Everybody knew all of these practices that you've taught, and I looked around my room and went, I don't have a Sri Chakra, I don't know these mudras or these mantras, and I let it in the beginning start making me feel like and then I just started sitting up in my bed and practicing with nothing and forgiving myself. I don't know.
But the thing is, in one sense, all the furniture, all the puja furniture is just really about creating structure and creating a kind of a space and reinforcing a particular activity. In any case, all that furniture is not significant. It's nice, and the Sri Yantra is considered to be the most powerful of all yantras in all the ways that are listed in among the mudras, it is considered the most protective and most benefit-bringing yantra. That's sort of one thing about the Shri chakra. Everybody got, people who got yantras got it for the sake of the yantra itself. But then, moreover, it has, there's a whole worldview embedded in it that what we're trying to do is get people to start to grok. And yantras there's a whole subset of yantras studied in India, kind of as a function of the tantric tradition, but and it exists in Islam as well and in Christianity too, but especially in India, these yantras are some kind of an image, a line drawing, generally, maybe a letter, a swirl. And these yantras are related to specific goddesses or, spirits like yakshas, yakshinis, dakinis, sakinis, yoginis, like that. These are all hierarchies of spirits that can cause people harm for two reasons. One is because a person violates the space unconsciously, inattentively violates the space that is the residence of a spirit. It can piss a spirit off and some problem comes to them. Or because they have intentionally done something which in some way has also offended the spirit. Lama Wangdu often does pujas for nags, snakes, but nags are also a class of earth spirits that are considered to dwell around water. And people like my next door neighbors in Kathmandu, had a spring in their yard that they blocked up and sort of structurally altered in the process of constructing their house, and they had some major problems, some discord in the family ever since. So, Lama Wangdu did a puja for them there, and it kind of settled down.
Or puja for the nagas.
Yeah, did. Saying, well, sorry about all that. Yantras are done or made and connected to some mantra. A yantra and a mantra are connected. And generally a person would have a yantra made out of a specific substance or subset of substances, and then it's either worn or sometimes displayed, could be displayed over a bed or at the doorway to a house, or becomes a part of either the person wears it or it's like it has a feng shui-like effect on the structure of a building. So another kind of yantra would be Lama Wangdu's black threads that he makes. You've seen those, I think, right? Well, you could think of that as a kind of yantra. It's more three-dimensional, and generally yantras are like they could be made out of copper with a mix of zinc or lead or mercury or gold or silver or all of the above. They could also have some sulfur, poured into the mix, or some calcite, something. They're very specific, formulistic constructions of a kind of an image that is worn for protection or for some other benefit.
And weaving together the mantra, the yantra, and the mudra.
The mudras are the physical vibrational expression of the mantra, which is the sonic vibration of the state, which is a state of, in every instance, a state of awareness.
The yantras are also that.
The yantras are a state of awareness.
And
but physical. You know, the import here is that the material world, the physical world, you know, the mental and emotional world, the physiological world, all aspects of the total life of the earth are being considered in the process of the Sri Chakra Puja, or in the, you know, more largely in the process of the processes of the tantric tradition. You know, and part of the reason for thinking about this in the largest sense is, how will humanity heal itself, heal its environment, or at least make peace with its environment, heal itself and go forward from this period in time, you know, without a completely different understanding of our relationship to the biosphere. I don't think, as long as people think that the earth is just this resource given by God to them to exploit, you know, there is any hope for humanity whatsoever. And I do think that as long as you have as long as you are imprisoned in your own defensive routines and unable to make the effort to push yourself through that state into a different state, I think there's no hope for the planet, because, you know, every moment that we come to a place where we choose the bigger picture, our defensive routines get fired up and we fail to choose the bigger picture.
And the Sri Chakra, the practice that you're teaching, helps us create the awareness to tap into that connection to the biosphere.
Right. Well, think of it this way. If somebody asked me, what is the fundamental problem of humanity? I would say egotism is the disease. So if egotism is the disease, then, you know, an open heart is the answer, is the cure. Because, you know, in really completely opening our hearts, our sense of boundaries get completely changed. Right? Even like the thing about class is, we're sitting there, you know, I'm working through people's defensive routines, through their boundaries, through their tensions, if you want. But I'm engaging in people and connecting to people and trying to evoke from people the sense that there's something going on inside them that is stronger than their defensive routines. Because the thing is, the only thing that dissolves the ego is love, if you want to put it like that. Love dissolves the ego from within, because when our hearts are open, when we are feeling the warmth of the flow of love within and energy within ourselves, then we don't need those routines. They become obsolete. Even the body recognizes that routine as, you know, inappropriate to its circumstance. And going back to that experience over and over and over again completely changes the way we think of ourselves and the way we think of the world.